May I have your attention, please? Attention, please. Now, if you're a Democrat for president in 20, raise your hand. Just raise your hand. Now, observe this, if you will. There's some people from the Hill, and they seem to think they're qualified to run this land. Now, you've all heard of Sanders, Biden, Warren, Shore.
Hello, everyone. I'm Mark Auerbach, and this is Artsbeat Radio on 89.5 FM WSKB. We're also being broadcast on television, and we are live at the Cranwell Resort in Lenox, Massachusetts. It's one of two programs that we're having this summer with members of the Capitol Steps. Janet Davidson-Gordon and Morgan Duncan are here on the first hour, and we're going to talk about political satire and musicals and all kinds of good stuff. We were here last year and did a two-part special with the Capitol Steps, and joining me today to co-anchor these broadcasts is Dennis Akins. Good to see you, Denny.
Good to see you, Mark. And let me start off by saying, talking about the Capitol Steps, Mark almost kind of had a fall down the Capitol Steps, which has led him to be in a wheelchair today. But we're so glad, Mark, to see you up and about finally.
Yeah. Well, if you haven't seen Artsbeat Radio since April 14th, it's because I fell down the steps. I've done a couple of call-ins, but they let me out of rehab to do this particular show, and I'll be out for good very soon and back to doing regular radio.
I think you get a special badge for this, from both everyone in our listening audience and probably from the Capitol Steps, too.
Yeah, I want to know how the Capitol Steps were involved in your fall. I didn't hear that story.
Capitol Steps had nothing to do with my fall.
Thank goodness.
I feel better now.
I know, I kind of implied that, didn't I? I figured, let's get the steps in right after
I knew I had a long rehab ahead of me, and the only group that I let all my other clients kind of get on suspension. And I agreed to stick and do the Capitol Steps because basically you guys are so funny compared to my other clients. I really would much prefer to, laugh while I'm doing work. But anyway, you guys are here for the summer. Opened last weekend, I guess.
That's correct.
The 28th, and you're here till August 30th in the Harvest Barn, which you can see behind us, and the Steps stage. And how has the show changed in the last couple of weeks with all things changing?
In the last couple of weeks, that's kind of been the sort of watchword for this administration. Things in the administration and the news change so rapidly that it's kind of hard for us to keep up because
and know how long a story is going to last.
Right. Well, you're hoping always that to catch a story for satire just at that point when it starts to get old, when everybody's heard of it, everybody knows all the details, everybody's hoping a little sick of it, then we can make fun of it. But things come so rapidly now that it's hard to find that moment. So we'll think something is hilarious, and then
it's over.
The next day there's something even more outrageous coming.
Exactly.
So it's hard to pick.
Has it been difficult in the last year to keep up with what's going on in the news and the changing show?
Yeah, absolutely.
It has. It really has.
And I was very
it's because
fortunate.
a lot of the stories you think they're going to stick, and they
disappear quickly.
They just disappear
Something
quickly.
else takes its place.
Yeah.
I was very fortunate to be up here on Sunday to see this incredible show, and I got to tell you, my jaw finally calmed down yesterday. I laughed the entire time, and my partner was with me, and he laughed equally as hard.
This woman left the show the other night.
You guys are so wonderful.
This woman left the other night, and it made me laugh because she said, "I laugh so hard, I need surgery." And I thought that would be a perfect line for one.
Exactly.
For our program.
I got to say, one of the things being a bit of a, I have worked in politics all my life, and as well as in theater. And I got to tell you, I was so impressed that you were able to keep a balance. Because right now, depending on what current administration is in Washington, there's always going to be a lopsided news cycle. Because we know right now there's a story a day that could be turned into a parody. And yet you still manage beautifully to bring some great humor to the Democrats as well as to the Republicans.
Yes.
Yeah, we try and pick on whoever's most in the news, and that's always going to be the party in power. But there's never a shortage of people. There's never. I mean, we were hoping that perhaps everything would be perfect in politics and we would just fade away like old news, but that hasn't happened. So there's always people to pick on.
We try to be equal opportunity offenders.
Exactly.
Now, when the Capitol Steps started in 1981, the people that were initially involved were all congressional staffers who did this on the side. And I know that the cast has evolved over the years. How did you get involved in the Capitol Steps?
Usually it's, I think as with Morgan too, it's been pretty much a word of mouth kind of thing with the actors in the Washington area. That if you knew someone already in the Capitol Steps, and so I happened to get in because one of the cast members married and moved away. And they do want people to live in the Washington,
Yes.
Virginia, Maryland area. So someone moved and there was a spot available, and I happened to have been working with someone at one of the local dinner theaters who asked me if I'd want to audition.
Yeah.
And how long have you been with the Capitol Steps?
Probably about 25, 26 years.
Wow.
Since she was 12 years old.
Yes, only a babe.
Just a
in the
child.
children's theater
Just
production of the Capitol
exactly.
Came
Steps.
right out off the stage of Annie.
They snapped her right up. Snapped her right up. It was wonderful.
That's my little red dress.
Yes, exactly.
What are some of the political characters that you've played over the years?
Probably the character that I played the most, and for whatever reason, I sort of have her natural mannerisms as Hillary Clinton. And so
Yes.
I also like her politics, so I kind of had this collision. You know? It's like the personal and the business. But Hillary, I guess, since she was wearing the headbands back in 1993 when I came in. Wow. So, yeah.
And who are some of
sort
the,
of
in the
followed.
current one, the Lion Kings, which,
In the current, probably Alexandria Ocasio is one new song we have. I am the very model of a modern major liberal.
yes,
It's
we're
a
going to play
very,
an
very
excerpt from
difficult
that
song,
later.
by the way.
nice.
Yeah.
If our listeners know Gilbert and Sullivan, Janet does a remarkable, very enunciated version of this song, which is a parody of the Gilbert and Sullivan song.
Yeah.
And you
It
do
took me a little
beautiful
longer
job.
to learn that one than some
Oh,
of the
it's
others.
tough.
Yeah.
It's tough.
It is a tough one.
She does a phenomenal Ruth Bader Ginsburg
Sure.
in this
you.
as well. You know?
Thank you.
So that's quite a character change.
Oh,
What about you? When did you join the Capitol Steps?
This is my 17th year. I joined in 2002. Yeah, so I've been around a good long time as well.
Did you work on the Hill, or were you a theater person?
Up until about the year before I joined the Capitol Steps, it was a requirement. You had to work on the Hill in order to be in the Capitol Steps. And they lifted that, and I got in just after that. So I am untainted. I am clean, as it were.
And Janet, did you work on the Hill?
I did not. I had done a couple of temp jobs, and they sort of accepted that. Rather
Right.
than, some people, I think that they liked them enough, they were like, you have to go work on the Hill now.
And Morgan, what are some of the roles that you've played over the years?
I played a lot of Arabs, but of course, the last decade, I've been Obama. Primarily, but I've played a lot of people. Anyone who was sort of tall and thin, they sort of jammed me into. Who was the presidential candidate who got swift voted? What was that? What was that
John
for?
Kerry.
Yeah, I was John Kerry
Yes.
a lot.
Oh, yes, I can see that, because he was very tall.
Yeah,
and
which was
stately,
a fun,
which you are.
which was which was a fun role.
Yes.
but I was primarily Obama is what I've been doing, and which is interesting because we used to go to Chicago, while he was still a senator there. And people would go, hey, you know who you look like? You ought to be Barack Obama. And we were like, nobody knows who that is. But if he ever does anything, we'll put him in the show. Just if it ever happens. So that's what
I
happened
have to
there.
tell you that in the current show, first of all, both Janet and Morgan have wonderful singing voices. But Morgan, as Barack Obama, has a wonderful song that he does, which is a parody of Meghan Trainor's All About the Bass.
Yeah.
So you have the President of the United States singing it about his bass. And it's terrific.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a great
fun
parody,
song.
and the audience really reacted to it beautifully.
Yeah, it's a fun song.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, who does the writing for you? Do you get a chance to be involved in that?
We do.
We do.
So it can be tweaked even after it's.
Oh,
Yeah,
We
I
have,
mean,
we
with-
have
with-
writing doctors,
Yes. Yes. And sometimes surgery is needed
which Barry is
to
one.
improve it.
But Elena Newport, who was one of the founders of the group, one of the
Yes.
originals, does a lot of the writing. And Mark Eaton, who also works in the office, does a lot of the writing. But we all add stuff from time to time.
And if you have an idea for a song, you can present it.
You can do that, or you can send them a song and they can adjust
Right.
it as they want.
Yeah, I've through the years been a better sort of idea person.
Yes.
Where I won't write the whole song, but I'll give the ideas and then.
It's a different skill set.
It is.
Yeah, and it's a
But
tough
you
thing,
also-
and they're very good at it.
Yeah, and being on stage so much, you have a sense of what
Yeah.
could work in terms of
Elena really has, she just has a gift to be able to just, when you talk about the arc of when something is popular, and she really just seems to just naturally know that, and she will just nail it every
Yeah,
time. She's-
yeah.
And she's instantly funny. I mean, I work with Elena on occasion doing the social media or some of the press and publicity for
Yes.
some of the tour stops. And having a phone conversation with her is hilarious.
Oh, it is. I know, she's
You know,
very
and I don't
quick
know,
and very
she's
bright.
so quick, and she has a lot of different songs that she thinks about. You know, we could adapt this, we could adapt that. A very funny lady.
Does she
Yeah.
speak in rhyming couplets?
She does not, to the best of my knowledge.
I bet she dreams in them though. Because,
But I'm sure that she's a news junkie. She loves news,
Yes.
and she's very focused about that. But she just has this gift to be able to match a concept or a news story to this wide variety of songs that she can parody in such a way that the cover, which is what we call the original song, fits really nicely
right. Sure.
with the song that she's
Yeah, I was on a
written.
plane once, this has been years ago, and it was right after the shoe bomb incident.
oh yes,
And I just
yes.
happened to go, shaboom, shaboom, shoe bomb. Shoe bomb, shoe bomb, and so
Oh my God.
And so I
From that
emailed Elena.
was
She's like,
born.
yeah,
Yes.
I think we could do something with that.
Yeah, that's pretty funny.
I'm sure you start thinking that way
do,
after
Yeah.
a
do.
while because
Yeah.
this is what you live and breathe now.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know. Now how many?
I was
I'm
going to
sorry.
ask, new material gets introduced all the time. Do you get a chance to rehearse it before it goes into a show? Or
Yes.
does
We
it
do.
arrive by email and you go, I got to learn this
Well,
too?
it's kind of a little bit of both. It arrives by email. We need to work on it before we get to the rehearsal. Most of our rehearsals are at the Ronald Reagan building.
Right. We have a year-long contract with the Ronald Reagan World Trade Center in downtown Washington, D.C., and we do the show every Friday and Saturday there. And most of our rehearsal time is before that show.
Got you. Yeah.
So,
and does the whole group get together there?
no, just the
Yeah.
people who are doing the show that
That
night.
show. Okay.
Right.
Yeah. So.
Have you met everyone that performs anywhere in the Capitol Steps?
Yeah. In time, you sort of
Yeah.
interact
Yeah.
with them.
Right.
Because we call them tracks. We'd have
Yes.
3 other people doing our track, or 2 or 3. And so, I mean, Emily Levy, she hasn't been with the group very long, and she's the newest member, and I've only met her, I think, twice at a
Yes.
couple of
Yes.
parties.
Yeah.
And I know Evan, who's going to be joining us later in the day, just came back from a stint in Into the Woods along
Right.
with
Yeah.
Barry's
Absolutely.
husband.
Yeah.
Do you, the two of you
Yes.
get to take stints and do theater?
I have every once in a while. I have done that.
Because
a few
I,
things.
I went to college in Washington and it really wasn't a great theater scene. There was Arena Stage, the National,
Interesting.
and later the Kennedy Center. And now it's just like a big theater
yeah.
town.
It is. DC is the second largest theater market in the country.
And quite a bit going on in
Yeah.
Baltimore now, too.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
Yes. Yeah.
yeah, it's
Now,
it's a big town.
does your group usually perform together, this particular cast, or do you perform with other people?
No, we mix and match all the time. So my next shows after this run will be with different people, and I may interact with any of these people again soon,
Yeah.
but not guaranteed.
Right.
That's another whole skill set, to be able to,
Sure.
because you just get kind of refined with a bunch of comrades, not to use the Putin comment that Evan plays, but and then you have to move on to another group of dynamics.
Sure.
When
which
we
is-
travel a lot during the election season, they try to keep maybe one cast together for a period of time
Yes.
because it coordinates better with a lot of the travel. So then you can sort of set a few things a little differently with the cast you're with for a while.
Sure, yeah.
Then that'll
Do you find-
change.
I was going to ask that the Cranwell summer runs, and I believe it's the 12th season that the Capitol Steps have been here. It's sort of like a summer vacation because you're out of the city. Where's the most interesting town or city or theater you've played?
Oh my goodness, that's a very dangerous question. I'm not sure I want to answer it. I can think of a lot of places that I really, really like. We do a show every year in Pasadena, California.
Nice town.
At, is it Caltech?
Caltech.
Yeah, which is a lovely show. Some very sort of avid fans who are always there, which is fun for us. We've played a lot of very tiny cities, which is occasionally very interesting.
Right,
Because
and you don't know what to expect
exactly.
necessarily.
We've been to a couple of very small venues that have turned out to be wonderful. There's a place in Maine that in the very southern part of Maine that we were like, up a dirt road. How much fun is this going to be?
Yeah.
But it was fantastic. It's a wonderful place. The audience was spectacular.
It's almost a suburb of Boston.
Well,
when you get down in southern Maine.
Yeah.
I used to live in Boston.
Yeah.
And that was our weekend hangout. It was
Yeah, I mean, but
Right.
we didn't know that
you
was a
wouldn't know it.
possibility.
You
We were
wouldn't
like,
know it, There's
okay,
no way.
there were going to be bears in the audience, but there were no bears. There really weren't.
And the Capitol Steps have gone as far north as Alaska. I guess you played in almost every state.
We have played in every
Yeah.
state. In fact, I was on the show when we ticked off our 50th state, which was South Dakota.
Wonderful.
And
I
was-
did the only full two-week tour of Alaska in the winter.
How are audiences, let's say, in Alaska? Are they different from audiences, let's say, in Washington or Boston or Northampton?
Not so much, really. Not so much. When we were there, I think it was right after 2012, I believe. And of course, at that time, Sarah Palin was still popular. So we were still, putting her on the show, and that
Right, which was great fun.
made it, made it more current.
Yes, and more
especially
local for
when we
them.
were in Juneau, and so for the most part, the national material is pretty
And
much
for people that
accepted the
are
same.
listening or watching today, you all do 2 NPR specials a year.
Right.
And one of them ran over 4th of July, and
That's
it's
right.
now on the Capitol Steps website, which is capsteps.com. And if you go to the Capitol Steps website, you can also link to YouTube renditions of songs.
Sure.
You can get a list of where the Capitol Steps are going to be over the next few months, not just here in Cranwell till August 30th, but Washington, D.C. at the Reagan Building every Friday and Saturday night. And I understand one of the touring companies is up in Michigan and did Ann Arbor on the 4th.
Yes.
We do the 4th of July. I know you've done it before.
In
Morgan,
fact,
'cause you
every
are
year
from
I've been
there.
in the Capitol Steps, except for this year, I've done that show because I'm from Michigan, so my family
nice.
generally comes
Sure,
up there.
yeah.
So, but not this year. I get to be here.
Yeah, and I've done that one quite a bit
yeah.
too. That's
Yeah, but the Berkshires are great in the summertime.
Fantastic.
I hope that during the day
Yeah.
you get a chance to
And we
go out
have.
and,
We've
Have
enjoyed
you
it.
been able to explore?
Yeah, quite
Oh,
a
yes.
bit.
Oh,
There's
yes.
a lot to explore
It's
around
a
here.
lovely place. There's a
I'm
lot
sure
of
each
stuff.
year you find a little more.
Something
Have you
else.
discovered the Dream Away yet?
No.
Dream
Oh,
Away?
I got a secret for you guys.
We'll have to talk
Right,
about
you'll-
that in a minute because we
Yes.
need to take a quick break
Sure.
to acknowledge some of the underwriters that make programming here possible. And while we're taking that break, go to the Capitol Steps website, capsteps.com. You can like the Capitol Steps on Facebook. You can like them on Instagram and on Twitter. So go explore to do a little media exploration. I'm Mark Auerbach with Dennis Akins, and Janet Davidson Gordon and Morgan Duncan are our guests. They are members of the Capitol Steps that are performing at Cranwell until August 30th. Peter Coles is our chief engineer, and we'll be right back after a couple.
Hello, I am Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders. And as you know, I recently introduced a bill for single-payer health care, basically Medicare for everyone. Now, Medicare is not just popular with Democrats. Did you know that Dick Cheney used Medicare to replace every organ in his body? Doesn't have a single original part. We even had to issue him a new Social Security card. Now, some people think that single-payer is a left-wing proposal. Well, I am an independent. I never wanted to be a Democrat or a Republican because I refused to join a party that would have me as a member. I got that joke from my favorite Marx brother, Carl. Now, as you know, back when President Obama was running for president, Donald Trump wanted to see his birth certificate. Now, if he wants to try that on me, he's going to have no luck whatsoever because mine has expired. Right. Now, as you know, I'm running in 2020, and I think there are a lot of Democrats out there who are not sure who they want to support yet. So I am going to go door to door asking this one single question. Do I live here? And now I have this message for all of you people right here, right now. Hello, voters, my old friends. I've come to shout at you again because you know my views are very clear. I've had the same ones for 100 years, and the visions that I told my rabid crowds are way too loud. They echo with the sound of Sanders. I may not like technology. I may still use an iPhone 3. Keep getting texts from someone I don't know. I think her name is Battery Low. But then someday, when the interweb is taken down by the hackers of the 1% who infiltrate the crowd, which is controlled by the corporate elite, don't come running to me and beg to borrow my fax machine. Because you should have listened to the sounds of Sanders.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm Mark Auerbach here at the Cranwell Resort in Lenox, Massachusetts with Dennis Akins, the crew from 89.5 FM WSKB, and two of the members of the Capitol Steps, Janet Davidson Gordon and Morgan Duncan. They're taking time out before a performance tonight to chat with us about their experiences portraying people from Barack Obama to Hillary Clinton. Here with us. And which of the characters that you've played has been part of the Capitol Steps for the longest amount of time? Do people like Hillary Clinton get retired for someone else?
Yes. I mean, I've played Hillary the longest, and she was actually just retired about a few months ago. We were doing a rendition of I Will Survive.
That's a good one. And what about you, Mort?
There's a number in the show that was written for that issue of Arizona demanding people to see people's IDs, which was a big stink, but it was a big stink a little while ago.
Yes.
And so we've been doing that particular song for 8 or 9 years now, but we keep trying to pull it, but it's an audience favorite, so we get people to miss it and go, "Where's that song?" So it's still in the show.
I would like to think that Massachusetts would kind of give you the. I mean, we are the #1 education state in the country, so I'd like to think that there's not too much that this crowd will miss.
No.
Whether it be Republican leaning or Democratic leaning, because they're pretty close followers of politics here. And I guess anyone that comes to see your show probably has an interest.
I will say this about that, which is we do about 50% of our work is corporate, meaning if there's a convention or something, they might have us as entertainment. Those shows are a little different.
Yes.
When we do a public show, the audience came because they like the issue and they want to laugh along with it. But occasionally we perform for people who are not quite sure what's about to happen, and that can be a little different.
Yes.
And fun for you as theater people, because it teaches you about how your material is received.
Absolutely, and it can be it can be wildly different from someplace like the Cranwell.
And much accepted differently depending on where they've been before the dinner. Like if they've had a whole day of golf in the sun, they're sort of like, we're going to see what for how long?
or in one case that I'm thinking about, a whole day of not golf. It was we were doing a show for some people who had paid a great deal of money to golf at this wonderful resort in Florida. And then it rained the entire day.
Oh, no.
And they were pretty unhappy by the time the Capitol steps came on. And they let us know it the entire show.
Oh, my goodness. Do you think there might have been a few drinks involved?
Yes, a few dozen
it's
drinks.
raining in Florida, it's not...
Or then were you on the show where that we performed for like just one family?
Yes,
Oh,
that
my
absolutely,
goodness.
in their basement. Absolutely,
Really?
yeah.
They bought the show.
The sort of
I like these people. Give me the
the head
telephone.
of the head of the family were big fans, and they thought, well, sure, we'll just bring the show out.
How nice is that?
Yeah, so it was the grandfather and a couple of his children and maybe 8 little kids who were completely perplexed. But they,
So we tried to turn it into a little party. You know?
I know that the Capitol Steps have performed for at least 5, if I'm not mistaken, maybe 6 presidents.
I think 5 is right.
Have you ever performed for a U.S. president?
I joined during the George W. Bush tenure, and he did not have us at the White House.
He did not.
And neither did President Obama, and of course we
Right.
haven't been to the White House
Since.
this term.
I performed for Al Gore
Oh, yes, yes.
during the Clinton administration.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was assumed periodically a politician would show up at your door at the Reagan Trade Building.
All the time. Yeah, that
Yes,
happens pretty
yes.
frequently.
Have you ever met
And
a
they joke about
politician?
if they're not in the show, they joke about it. Why am I not?
Of course, they came to see themselves. Oh, drat.
Yeah.
But have you ever performed and met someone who you portrayed?
Absolutely.
Yes. In fact,
Absolutely.
Hillary and Bill were in the audience at one private
my
show, and I could see them through the pipe and drape, and I kept looking at them, and it was on to do Hillary. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm going to do Hillary for Hillary. And then they left.
Oh, dear.
They did. Yeah, they didn't
yeah.
stay long enough. There were a
Yeah.
lot of things going on before.
Exactly.
We performed,
They were hoping to come in and see a
Yeah.
piece of it because they probably heard so much about it, like we all have. You know. And is there someone that you portray?
Yeah, no, I remember doing the show for Senator Kennedy, and there was a song about him in the show, and he was very gracious about it. He came up after and was very
He's
sort
a
of,
good, yeah,
yeah,
good
he was a good
man.
sport
We're
about
so very
the whole
fond
thing.
of our Ted
And we've
Kennedy.
also gotten the senators and congressmen into the show.
We've
if
done
they're
that
up
occasionally.
for that. So
Yeah.
we used to always get Patrick Leahy and
Yes. Oh
Yes,
my
we
goodness.
enjoyed the-
what
When
an
you know that
affable
they're there,
fellow.
do you ever ad-lib, or is there much ad-libbing that goes on during a performance?
There's not supposed to be. Let's say that. We're the show is scripted, and we technically should be doing the script. I'm not going to say that always happens,
Right.
but I'm saying it's not supposed to happen.
yeah. But
It can be as
has
subtle as a glance.
Sure.
well, last year the whole set came down here.
No
Were you here for that? I
kidding.
think
I was not here.
Yeah.
Oh.
So we had to stall a little bit to get
Yeah.
that back
And I'm sure that
together,
got
but
laughs.
It did. It did.
You know, I have to tell you that there's so much wonderful about this show, even the most subtle of things. For example, when I was here Sunday, Janet came out as a different character, and I knew the second she walked down that stage, she was Nancy Pelosi. It was the most beautiful single, thing. You just changed, and it was just wonderful, and then you were able to keep that up throughout the show when you were portraying Nancy.
How do you pick up the mannerisms of the political people that you're portraying? Do you watch them on television? Do you watch the late night comics doing it? How do you get the nuances?
See, there's rumor that they go through the individual's trash to get DNA.
Right,
and they
right.
somehow, I don't know if they need
It's a
that.
little
No,
bit of
no, that's
both
not
of
true
that,
at all.
Really. You sort of zero in on a couple of things and sort of try to
Yes.
and that
It's sort
can
of
work.
a process of character, like an artist will do. You're picking out the things that everyone's going to notice. And some characters, Obama in particular, are so subtle that it's really tough to figure out what to lampoon. And you don't want to make it be too much about low-hanging fruit, about
exactly.
things like visual things. You really want
Sure.
to try and find something everyone's
yeah, or
going to
watching
recognize.
them. It's
Yeah.
like Hillary used to always do the
Yes.
points. So I just sort of played on that, and Nancy Pelosi with the
Yes. That
big
broad
eyes
smile.
and
So it's not, you don't really go for the mean. You don't go for the jugular. I didn't sense anything here that was just plain mean. I just didn't see it.
No, there's no need to be. I mean, first of all, these people are all around. You never want to offend somebody who, who might be in the
Their
audience.
cousin may be in the audience.
Exactly, and that's happened.
And I think that's probably led to this, just the sustainability of the show, because I think everyone can go and enjoy it, and yet it also, I think it left people with this sense of how great that in this country,
Yes.
we can do something like
And
this,
bring your children.
and we can laugh at ourselves.
That's right.
We weren't just laughing at you.
Sure.
We were laughing at ourselves because we put you there. not you.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, exactly. And we've occasionally had people from other countries come up and say
Mention
to us
that.
afterwards, this is a great American thing that
Right.
you can make fun of these people this close to them.
Right.
In the seat of power, you can make jokes about them and have them be okay with it. That's something that happens here that is not guaranteed to happen anywhere else.
Yeah.
So,
It is remarkable. It's
Well, we try
remarkable.
not to cross that line, like you said, of being
Yes.
mean or being right.
And I think that takes work.
Sure.
Because not just with the material, but as you already pointed out, just in your portrayal of these people, it would be very easy to find something. I mean, I don't know how many times people, could portray Al Gore tripping or something like that. Was it Al Gore that tripped?
No,
out there?
No, we used to
Ford.
do
No,
sort
it
of the
was Ford. It was
Frankensteinian
it was
thing with Al
Ford,
Gore, because
yes.
people said that he was like
He
kind of a
was
stiff
stiff,
guy.
yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
of course. It
We'd
was
bring him
Ford.
out on a dolly. We used to bring him out on that dolly where he was.
Yeah.
And no one would laugh harder than that than Al Gore.
Right, exactly.
because
Exactly.
He's a great spirit.
I have a question for you. There's a lot of political satire out there and musical political satire. Randy Rainbow, the
That's
late
right,
night
sure.
TV
Done very
people,
much the same.
Saturday Night Live.
Sure.
What do you think distinguishes the Capitol Steps from the others?
Well, primarily, first and foremost, we're oldest. Do you know what I'm saying? But that thing that Randy Rainbow is doing, and he does a spectacular job, but it is essentially exactly what we do, and we've been doing it a lot longer.
Yeah.
In fact, some of the reason that people can do that type of song parody has to do with a case that got, if I'm not horribly incorrect, at the Supreme Court that was the Capitol Steps were involved in.
Yes, we were.
So,
Bill Strauss
so I mean,
was-
we are responsible for people being able to get away
Was
with
it
this
because
stuff.
of the usage of the song?
Yeah.
And yes, I see. So
Yeah.
it was probably involved in a infringement.
There was
Right.
a lawsuit. It was some group called Willie Vanilli or something. I can't remember.
Milli
the name.
Vanilli is what you're talking about.
Yes,
Yeah.
it was, and I think that they had pretty much done basically the same song that was already a popular song or
that's
something,
right,
or
that
had
was-
been a popular
sure,
song.
yeah.
But they changed the words,
Right,
and so
right.
they.
So it led to a lawsuit and
So
a
I know
hearing
that it
and-
was a big thing in the, with the powers that be in the Capitol Steps. It's, oh my gosh, we're going to have to always do, like Gilbert and Sullivan from
Yes,
now on.
exactly. It's public domain.
Something
Right.
that's in
Yeah.
public
Yeah.
domain.
So
But as
can
it
you
turned
imagine
out,
if you have to go to every single artist and get
Right.
permission?
Well, we wouldn't be
Yeah.
able to.
No, you wouldn't be able to do it.
No.
Yeah, we wouldn't be able to.
I have
but-
a friend in Los Angeles who all he does, he works for Capitol Music, all he does is his full job is to do the contracts for the music on the Ellen DeGeneres show.
Sure.
Just
Really?
that one show.
It probably takes
Because
him.
every time they use
Yeah.
music, it has to be.
Yeah.
We're going
Yeah.
to take another break to acknowledge our
Time is
underwriters.
flying.
It's great
is.
being up here in the Harvest Barn at Cranwell Resort in Lenox. And the Capitol Steps are performing here nightly except Tuesdays through August 30th. Depending on how many times you come this summer, and you definitely want to attend more than once,
Yes.
you'll get to see at least half of the Capitol Steps troupe, because there's Washington performances, tours all over the country, and Cranwell. And come back in another 2 weeks, you'll see a different set of performers.
And possibly different stories, different songs.
You never
Sure.
know with today's news what could happen. I'm Mark Auerbach. Dennis Akins is my co-anchor today. We're talking with Janet Davidson-Gordon and Morgan Duncan, who are both longtime members of the Capitol Steps, portraying a lot of your favorite or hated political personalities going back from the Reagan days to today. Some of them are international figures from North Korea or Moscow. Some of them are American, but they will change depending on what the next news cycle is. Peter Coles is our chief engineer today, and we are thankful to Cranwell Resorts for hosting us doing this special program, which will be airing on 89.5 FM WSKB. We'll be right back.
Good evening. I am Russian President Vladimir Putin, here tonight to welcome myself. As you know, recently I have been major pain in Tukis. I know things are bad because I tried to travel to a nearby Eastern European country. I went through customs. They asked my name. I said Vladimir Putin. They said occupation. I said no, just visiting. See, I'm a fun guy. Yes. But as a result of my dalliances here and there, the USA has once again imposed sanctions on me. This is no way to treat your employer. And of course, as you have seen, I have had great success with cyber warfare program. No, I am not talking about hacking your military secrets. I'm talking about posting nonsense on social media and watching Americans go nuts. And of course, most of these stories are trumped up. Oh, 2 for 2! Yes! So now, will you please welcome my top team? No, yes. Oh, you can applaud for them. You wanted to. Go ahead. Yes. Well, as you can see, yes, they are nerds, but that is why we like to be called Vlad and the Red Squares. Want a good job at the Kremlin? Posting on the web lots of made-up facts.
Weapons, we don't need them,
Since we found retweeting,
All we Russians need is just a mouse and a Mac. Content we keep churning, most is disconcerting. Trolling on the Twitter. Got a lot of likes on postings saying Bernie's plan will destroy the banks.
Lindsey Graham is a cross-dresser.
Warren's no professor.
Beto's really fat, but he's wearing Spanx. Post a new red herring. Dumb voters keep on scaring. Trolling on the Twitter. What's the next attack I'm planning? Got a great coup I'll be pulling off. Wouldn't it be funny if in 2020 you elect a guy named Al Gorbachev?
You should not be gloating.
Don't trust machines for voting.
Trolling on the Twitter.
I'm Mark Auerbach for Artsbeat Radio here at 89.5 FM WSKB. Dennis Akins is joining me today. We are live from the Cranwell Resort in Lenox, Massachusetts, nestled in the beautiful Berkshires. And this is the summer home of the Capitol Steps, who the political satire, musical satire group that puts the mock in democracy 365 days a year. And with us are Morgan Duncan and Janet Davidson Gordon, who are longtime cast members. I'm so glad you guys could join us because I know you have a show tonight.
We do.
So what are you doing during the day while you're up here?
It varies.
Yeah.
There's a lot to see here. There are museums and parks to visit and
Matinees of shows.
matinees.
Shakespeare.
We see
Yes.
as much theater as we can, and
We were off yesterday, so
Nice.
and
to a show.
actually this year for the first time, I'm actually going to do a little brief show at Tanglewood.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah. So
When is that? Do you know?
that's going to be on the 14th.
Will you be
next
singing
Saturday.
there?
No, actually, I'll be reading. I'll be doing a little story for kids with an
nice.
orchestral background.
Nice, wonderful. Congratulations on that.
Yeah, it'll be fun.
Have you been to Tanglewood before?
I have.
Yeah, it's a great
It's a
facility.
beautiful. It's a fantastic thing.
Down, of course, down the Virginia area, you have Wolf Trap.
Yep.
Which, Mark, didn't you work there?
I started my professional career at Wolf Trap.
Oh, fun.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it all comes around.
I'm an honorary Washingtonian.
Okay.
Yes,
I've
yes.
gone back a lot of time. I've actually worked there. I worked at the National Theater.
Sure.
I worked at Arena Stage in my little career, but Wolf Trap really launched me. And then I ended up here in Massachusetts. How did that happen?
And we're glad you did, Mark.
Good
I'm going to
fortune, I
become
It's a great
a
venue.
resident of Del Mar Peninsula.
Oh, nice.
Because my partner and I are buying a place in Rehoboth Beach.
Beautiful.
So
Wonderful.
We'll be
Yeah. I
able
love
to get,
Rehoboth.
I'll be able to get into Washington and see you at your home base.
Excellent.
Rehoboth
I will
and
not miss
Bethany
you.
are my favorite
Oh, yeah,
beaches.
Bethany is fine. We have good friends in Bethany.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, it's a beautiful area, but
It
we're
is.
glad you're in the Berkshires, and some of the things you're going to be exploring on your own. I hope to be talking to Morgan and Janet afterwards to give them some of my secrets here in the Berkshires, since I'm pretty much a longtime resident of this area. Mark, you love the Berkshires as well. You're up here
I do.
all the
And
time.
when I go back to reviewing later this summer, I mean, last summer I reviewed 3 shows a week,
Yeah.
either in the Berkshires or Hartford, for the Westfield News Group. And my reviews ended up on BroadwayStars.com. So I'm actually going back to do my first review in a couple of weeks when I can hobble upstairs and stand up when latecomers arrive and
Oh,
not
my
disrupt the show. But I was going to ask you, you tour all over the country.
Yep.
Is there a city, or you have your days off sometimes in a city, is there a city that has become special to you in the tours that you've done? Not
there are
necessarily for performing, but in your free time.
There are many. We spend a lot of time in Florida, so kind of discovered the Sarasota area.
Yeah.
And
Florida
my
in the
husband and I
winter is
bought a house
nice,
there.
especially.
Yeah.
So,
I do a show the day after Thanksgiving in Scottsdale, Arizona. And Scottsdale is really
beautiful.
lovely. And as I travel around the country, it becomes really clear the little things that are very different from place to place. You can't be in Scottsdale and think you're in Boston. Do you know what I'm saying? It's very different looking.
Absolutely.
Which is not true of the entire country. There are a lot of things that are very similar, which is one of the interesting things about America, but some places are very different.
Do you actually hear a laugh at a different place in your presentation, do you think? Depending on what the...
so much, do you? It seems like
Yeah,
it's
there are a couple of things that
just
land a little
regional
harder.
things, you think?
Yeah,
Really?
that land a little harder in some places than others. And there's some things that some places we go where, you know, the makeup, the political makeup of the audience is different, and they react to different things at different times.
Do you know if the Capitol Steps or you yourself have ever been approached by a political convention? Either the Republican or Democratic conventions? Which I think
Not during my time,
Yeah.
but maybe it's
No,
happened.
They're pretty
not really the
structured events. I've been to
But what
one
is
and-
the, at the National Harbor, CPAC, APAC?
CPAC.
Yeah,
Yeah, CPAC. Yes.
They've hired us.
Oh,
to
that
do
would be
shows
fun.
there.
That would be a very fun
yeah.
group, because there was a very, very political people.
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. I have to ask, if we have time, a little bit about your backgrounds.
Sure.
You know, this show, for anyone interested in politics or theater or comedy, has all of it in it. But did you did you grow up having an interest in music or comedy specifically, or theater? Because you represent all of that here.
Yeah.
So I can't believe that as
I'll let
young
Morgan,
people.
I'll let the Shakespeare guy go first.
Have you done Shakespeare?
I did a lot of Shakespeare around the country, in Minneapolis and the Oregon Shakespeare Festival
Sure.
and places
Wonderful.
like that. But I started my career, in fact, I started doing this type of comedy show the same year, 1981, that the
81.
Capitol Steps started. And
In what format?
I was a little cabaret show, but it was
Really?
more. There was less music in it. It was
Was
more
it in Ann
spoken.
Arbor or in Michigan?
No, this is in Washington D.C.
Oh,
in
my
fact,
goodness.
around 1985, we were actually performing in a venue that was pretty much just across the street from the Capitol Steps for a little while. So I remember seeing people
Yeah.
going into that a gig and going, should we be this close? I mean, are they not taking our audience? But I did a lot. I did stand up for a while, and I've certainly done a number of musicals over the years.
And what was your training in?
I've a Bachelor of Fine Arts from Howard University in acting.
Wonderful.
So
great, So right there in DC as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Jen, how about you? What was your background?
I actually started as a dancer when I was,
Just a little child.
about 6 years old, and I'm
So
from
music
Richmond.
all the
and
time?
Did dance with the Richmond Ballet for a while, and
wonderful.
so I basically sort of segued into theater through dance and started, in the ensemble as a dancer, and I remember thinking, wow. I'm working a lot harder, and those people doing the leads are getting a lot more attention. I think I want to do what they're doing.
And they seem to be having fun for 90 minutes while I'm in pain.
Yeah, I'm working like really hard here, and it's like I'm like little girl in the blue on the end of the line.
Yes.
Anyway,
Well, there is
So,
a little choreography in the Capitol
Sure.
Step shows. Who does it?
That varies wildly. It really depends on whichever cast has sort of come up with a great idea.
who's the first cast to do it? Maybe.
We don't have a choreographer. It just sort of evolves.
Okay.
Yeah.
I also noticed that the costume changes, which are also funny because you don't have a lot of time sometimes, and you step off as one person and you step back on 5 minutes later as another person. But it's not just costumes; it's also props. And now, do you have a prop and costume person, or do you also work on that
Not really.
yourself?
It's interesting that how our props and costumes came about. I mean, in the very beginning of the Capitol Steps, when Elena Newport and Bill Strauss started. The props came from Bill Strauss's children's toy box.
Oh, wonderful!
Yeah.
So wonderful.
So it worked, and it's sort of a, we sort of kept that sort of ragtag, like
It's
just
not the
just
main
pull a
event.
prop. Oh yeah, that's a sword.
Yeah, it's meant to be a suggestion and not like
Right.
a representation of something,
Right.
and that's kind of the fun of it. We
Right.
pulled something and now we're using it as X, Y, or Z.
Yes, yeah.
So that's the fun of
I mean,
that.
I'm thinking of the little miniature hands. I won't even tell the audience what it
give
is.
away
They have to come and see the
exactly.
show.
Yeah, absolutely.
How do you guys
Where they got
travel when
those.
you go from city to city?
9 times out of 10, we fly to wherever we're going to be and pick up a rental car and spend, because we're generally someplace only one night. So when we're busy, especially like in the fall of an election year, say, we might be in 5 cities over the course of a week. So that's a great deal of traveling, and occasionally, depending on how the schedule works out, we might be on a plane every single day for that week, which can be a lot over time.
Absolutely.
But that's kind of so. This is especially why being here at the Cranwell is so much fun, because it is very much like all of our theater roots, where you're going to the theater every night and then you're going back home, as opposed to sort of going to the hotel and going to get on an airplane.
Right.
So
Or getting lost before you go to the airplane.
There are 5 of you that perform, and then there's a pianist,
Yes.
and
Right.
you have a technical person
We do.
also. So
There's
that's a couple of
usually 7 people
couple of
usually.
vans, and who totes all the props and the costumes around, and the CDs that you sell and everything.
that is our tech guy who handles all the props and costumes. He lays them out. He checks our sound, and occasionally, some places he actually runs the sound and the lights, depending on where we
are.
where we're performing. So he
And
does a lot.
it's remarkably compact.
It
You
is.
know,
Yes.
I mean, compared to when you come in and see the show, it does not feel compact.
Oh, good.
Because you all have great voices and you all have great skills in acting and then as we talk about it, it really is a small family.
Yeah.
We travel with about 7 big duffel bags.
Yeah.
And we get everything, microphones, everything into those 7
yeah.
huge
Yeah.
duffel bags.
Do you have a preference for performing in the smaller venue versus the large one? I mean, I've seen photographs that we've been posting to the Facebook page for the Capitol Steps, that these gorgeous, ornate, turn-of-the-century theaters, and then you see these modern cultural centers that are huge, and then you see this some club in Annapolis that
Right.
is very small. How do you adjust the show to play to a second balcony that's a mile away versus a smaller?
Not that difficult,
that's,
really.
That's
yeah.
just sort of theater craft, stagecraft, just being able to communicate that far. But I will say that to your original question about personal preference, there's a size at which you can be sort of intimate with people, where they can catch tiny little facial gestures or little physical tics that are difficult to do when you're 100 yards away. So though I think I personally prefer an
more
audience about
intimate.
this size, when you can sort of catch everything.
This is fairly intimate.
It is.
And it's a beautiful facility.
It is.
And it's air conditioned, which I
Which
don't
is
know
important.
if it always was when you were here.
When we started here, we were across the street in a room.
Registration building,
In the
wasn't it?
registration
Yeah.
building,
Right.
the basement.
Downstairs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of a low ceiling, and
Yeah,
this works a little better.
This is a much
Right.
more sort of
And they're-
inviting
They're
space.
constructing all over the place
Oh
here.
my goodness!
Yeah,
Yes,
Cranwell is
very
going to
different.
become a Miraval resort.
Yeah.
After this summer, and what a great place to hang out, though.
Yeah.
Think
Sure.
about it. It's going to be a wellness resort.
Yeah,
Right.
they're doing a lot of
When
work.
it's finished, it's going to
seaweed
be
wraps,
really,
Now, just a personal
Amazing.
question. Do they house you here, or is it nearby here?
We've
I'm not asking
started staying
specifically
in
where.
Pittsfield at the
right.
Yankee Suites.
Oh, sure.
But now
Yes.
we're on the property.
Oh,
now.
great, great.
And
yeah,
have been
yeah.
for the last 3 or
So
4
you
years.
you can actually walk to the performance
You
center.
could.
I know
I-
you're going to take your life in your hand.
Exactly.
When you cross the highway.
I generally wouldn't cross that street in my suit, for fear of.
We might
They've
be able to-
talked about a tunnel underneath. I don't know if that's going to happen. Have
No,
you
then
heard
wouldn't
that?
that be
I hadn't heard about
wonderful?
that.
Yeah. We could get you some hang gliders.
That hang
because I
gliders
think
would be
we're
good.
downhill.
Maybe just a big rubber band just to eject us across the
Somehow
street.
that seems to work.
Yeah.
That vision works for the Capitol
Yeah,
steps.
yeah,
because You're all about great humor.
Yeah, absolutely, sure. And our broken bones would be hilarious for people, so we could do that.
I don't know about that.
I'm joking.
Should we talk a little bit about tickets? How do people?
Yeah, when we close out the program, I'll give that
Okay.
information. How much time do we have, Peter? Okay. The music that you're hearing in today's program is part of the new CD called The Lion Kings. And if you go to the Capitol Steps website at capsteps.com, you can order these CDs. You can order past CDs as well. And there's a whole stack of them at the theater every night that the members of the Capitol Steps are glad to sell you after a performance. So, do come to Cranwell. If you're interested in tickets for the Washington show, those are available for every Friday and Saturday night. They're available at Ticketmaster. And there is a list on the Capitol Steps website of all the upcoming tour performances. It's complete now through Labor Day. So if you're not in the area and you want to see them somewhere else, you can check and find out. And we list the theaters that they perform in as well as ticket information. But I'm going to give you a little bit more here. First of all, we want to thank Chief Engineer Peter Coles, who has produced this program for us today. We really very much appreciate everything that he has done to make this happen, especially going out on the road. And we want to thank the people at Cranwell Resort who have given us the entire room for the afternoon and provided us with cold water on a 90-degree plus day, which we appreciate. The staff at the Cranwell Resort who, in the midst of construction, made sure it's quiet here at the Harvest Barn. For information on the Capitol Steps, go to capitolsteps.com. For information on Cranwell, visit their website at cranwell.com. And when you click there, you'll see the Lion King's CD cover and a place to click for tickets. And there are performances every night at 8 o'clock, except Tuesdays through August 30th. And before we go, I also wanted to thank Bill Egan from Egan Pictures, who's photographing portions of today's performance and our radio broadcast for use on the Capitol Steps Facebook and Instagram pages. So make sure you visit us on both of those sites. We're also on Twitter. And we have a YouTube channel. So the music that you hear today, which comes from the Lion Kings, which is the new CD out, some of it's on Facebook, some of it's on YouTube, along with some of the other greatest hits of the Capitol Steps going back over the years. I was surfing YouTube this morning, and They go back a couple of seasons.
Yeah,
and so you
sure.
can get an idea of what the Capitol steps look like when you see them live on stage. But there is nothing as good as seeing them live on stage. So come on up here to Cranwell. Thanks for joining us on Artsbeat Radio today. I'm Mark Auerbach. Dennis Akins has been my co-anchor, and we're so glad that you could come up here and
Happy
join
to.
us.
Thank you, Mark.
And Janet Davidson Gordon and Morgan Duncan are two of the members of the Capitol Steps. They're here, I guess, another week, right?
Yes.
And then they head off elsewhere, but you can see them in Washington. You can see them on tour. So we hope that you'll come and catch a performance
Don't
soon.
miss these folks. They are just wonderfully talented,
And
along
they're
with
funny.
the other three.
They're funny. You know, I interview too many people that are so droll and just sit there all the time. The Capitol Steps are funny for everybody in the company. It's
Yeah.
funny. I'm Mark Auerbach. This is Artsbeat Radio on 89.5 FM WSKB.
Hi, you guys. I'm like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. And I am so excited because I am like the youngest person who's ever been elected to Congress, like ever. Isn't that crazy? I am the very model of a modern major liberal. I think that corporation and bank profits should be minimal. With open U.S. borders, there'll be no illegal aliens. You'll only get a tax deduction if you're vegetarian. I'm very well acquainted with the reasons we have rich and poor. Our problems would be solved if we just all banned guns, I'm pretty sure. Progressives will soon find a way to raise the wage you're living on. If you're a millionaire, I will tax you into oblivion.
If you're a millionaire, she will tax you into oblivion. If you're a millionaire, she will tax you into oblivion. If you're a millionaire, she will tax you into oblivion.
Our justice system must be changed. I want to write some drastic laws. Death penalties will be reserved for people who use plastic straws. In short, in dealing with the future and most things in general, I am the very model of a modern major liberal.
In short, in dealing with the future and most things in general, she is the very model of a modern major liberal.
I'm learning about Congress, though you think that my agenda's strange, but we will all be dead in 12 years if we don't fix climate change. My Green New Deal is gonna pass, big oil will be smarting now, as soon as we can figure out a cure for all those farting cows. I think the GOP and Trump are totally unbearable. Would being socialists like Venezuela be so terrible? You thought that Medicare for all was something not affordable. But that's before you met a Marxist this freaking adorable.
That is before you met a Marxist this freaking adorable. That is before you met a Marxist this freaking adorable. That is before you met a Marxist this freaking adorable.
I think it's time for old white men in government to hit the bricks. This Congress now likes vaping avocado toast and selfie sticks. In short, in dealing with the future and most things in general, I am the very model of the rising of millennials.
In short, in dealing with the future and most things in general, she is the very model of the rising of millennials.
Bye,